Listen carefully, we don't have much time. The Flux is coming.
Hello, you lovely lot, and welcome back to Who Knew Fluxed, the final episode of Who Knew Fluxed, because we're here to chat about the finale. And when I say we, I'm not on my own, as I'm never on my own. I'm here with the wonderful Beth Axford. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I just rewatched it, so I'm feeling like really ready. I'm like
Good.
really in the, and I really liked it actually more on my second time watching it. So I'm like ready to go.
That's good. I have not rewatched it for a few days, and I am worried that I'm going to have forgotten every single thing that happened.
There's a lot.
There's
a lot.
Yeah, a lot happens in this, but you know, fingers crossed, I'll struggle through. Up top, let's do the things that I always forget. Number one, spoilers, obviously, for Doctor Who Flux, and specifically the Vanquishers. I haven't even said the name of the episode. That's what we're here to talk about, the Vanquishers, chapter 6, part 6, episode 6, whatever you want to call it, of Doctor Who Flux. And for the final time, the shelf. I'm
excited about this. What have you got on the shelf?
I mean, one, don't be, because it's dreadful.
No, your shelf is great. I know that no one can see this, but like you should post a picture of this on your Twitter, because those Daleks, the organisation, it's great.
What can I say? I'm never in this room either. I literally only come in here to record, and all of my stuff just gets lumped in here. I'm not allowed it past this boundary. You know, my house must be Who free. I'm allowed a few little tidbits, but I'm not allowed Daleks around the house.
I feel really lucky in that respect, because my partner is like as big a Doctor Who fan as me, and so is my housemate, even though he doesn't like to admit it. So like I have Doctor Who stuff all around me that you can't see, but everywhere in our flat basically.
Yeah, well, Jess does not feel the same about Doctor Who. She's not. I don't blame her. She's not a fan. I mean, people will know that when I was planning this, I was like, I think it'd be really funny to have Jess review every episode every week.
Yeah.
And just as a one-line review. And I asked her for her first one for Halloween Apocalypse, and she said it was shit. And I was like, that's just going to be every week, isn't it? You're just going to say it's shit every week until.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah.
Like that she doesn't even just like she's not just not interested. She actually hates
it. There's like 5 episodes that she likes, and they're so weird. I mean, any Victorian times, she's in. Tooth and Claw.
Oh, so like everything.
Quiet Dead. Yeah, she likes, unless it's unrealistic. And I mean, werewolves are realistic apparently, but I've tried.
That it's unrealistic. So
exactly. I've tried.
But you know what? Good for her. She doesn't have to be involved in Doctor Who.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. I mean, look at where we've all ended up. You know, keep her away, save her. Anyway, the shelf is absolutely dreadful. This is the worst one yet, people. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a greatest hits of the series so far.
Can I say what I think I can see on this shelf?
Yeah,
I can't
go
see
ahead.
It very well. So
no, it's not very clear. A Red Bull. Red Bull. Yeah, Red Bull.
For wings,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Okay.
That's for the wings. Yeah.
A potato for the Sononauts.
Potatoes are back. Yeah.
And then I can't tell what is there, like a big bow, like a golden ribbon?
Yeah, that's the only new thing. So we've got the peg for Peggy, even though she was in it for like 10 minutes and then she went because
I literally forgot who she was. I was like,
so we got a fob watch. Got a nice little fob watch.
Nice. I can't even see that, but like
that's this little silver thing here. There you go.
Nice.
It's just so hard to get my finger in the right place. And then it is a little Christmas bow because the series has wrapped up. That's the best really I could do, people. This is not going to be continuing into Who Knew because I
think you should. I think that would be great.
It will break me. I'll try. I'll do a little bit. I always keep an eye on the shelf. I'll try and sneak something on every time. There you go. There's little Easter eggs every episode. We should probably start talking about the Vanquishers rather than my shelf, because it's the series finale of Doctor Who Flux. And before we dive properly into that episode, for a bit of context, what have you thought of Flux so far, episodes 1 to 5? Chapters, John.
Chapters. Yeah,
Chapters.
I have really enjoyed it. I think the one, like, basically after episode 1, I was like, I really like Chibnall's Doctor Who in general. I, you know, even when it's not so good, I still really enjoy it. Like, Arachnids in the UK, man, like, love it. Everyone else disagrees with me on like that, but but then I came out of Flux chapter 1 and I was like, oh my god, it's even better. But also it kind of feels like, how do I explain, like, it's not that previous Chibnall Who didn't feel like Who to me, but somehow this felt more like Doctor Who. Do you know, I literally don't know how to explain that because I love all of it. But, and I was just really, really excited by it. And I've loved all of it so much. I think episode 3, I was very confused. I was having like a bad day, so I just think I wasn't really concentrating on it. And then when I rewatched it, I really liked it. But I think it's like, as a whole, it's the best Doctor Who we've had in like a really long time. And I love series 12, so I'm surprised that it got better. But yeah, I think my favorite was Village of the Angels, like closely followed by War of the Sontarans. Thought they were both really great.
Yeah, I think I'm the other way around. I think War of the Sontarans is just a bit more for me, but yeah. I did love Village of the Angels as well. I thought they were both great. I think everyone's sort of, if you've listened to the other 5 episodes, if you haven't, please do. You know, they're all there in a handy little playlist on the YouTube channel. I've been here the whole ride. I had a little bit of a dip last week with Survivors of the Flux. I liked it, just wasn't at the other level as the others for me. But in terms of Flux as a package deal, I am definitely in. I've loved it so far. And I think the general consensus going into this was they've left themselves a lot to do in an hour to wrap everything up, or wrap as many things up as possible that aren't going to be explored in future episodes. How do you think it did? How do you think the Vanquishers did in terms of closing off Doctor Who Flux?
I was really surprised by the angle that it took, because I really assumed that they were going to cover a lot of the division stuff off. Like, I thought they would go down that route, and then the kind of end of the Flux, or whatever, the fix of the Flux, whatever you want to call it, like, I thought that would kind of happen at the end. And the fact that it became like a Sontaran story, and about, like, that really surprised me. And I think on first viewing I was like, oh, I didn't get what I wanted out of that, because I wanted them to wrap up a lot of the division stuff. I still felt like quite confused by it. And I think they wrapped everything up other than the kind of the long-term Doctor stuff. And I was kind of like, are they going to revisit this? Like, obviously they probably will, but I just felt like if they just added one extra scene with like Jo Martin, or some other like little explainer, like even just like who Jo Martin's other companions were in the not Vanquishers, Once Upon a Time, or like just a little bit more about, because I guess we kept hearing like from Carvanista and Swarm and Azure, like the Doctor and the division like really hurt them, and like, you know, whatever. I just wanted to see that explored a little bit more. But most of all, I liked how it wrapped up. I just feel like I kind of would have preferred the focus on that rather than the random Sontaran stuff, which was still great. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I do get what you mean. I have similar feelings. I think, it definitely wasn't what I expected. Because I mean, if you'd have told me that we were getting a full-blown Sontaran story in this, I wouldn't have believed you. But I am happy with that, because I loved the Sontarans in this series. I think it's the best characterization that we've had.
They were really funny.
So good, so funny, but also somehow managing to be a big, like, genuine threat in the series as well, which is just the perfect balance for the Sontarans that you could strike. I think, I think I'm in the mindset of the next 3 episodes, obviously the last 3 episodes, Jodie's last 3 and Chibnall's last 3, could either make this even better, or it could drop it down a little bit if the stuff that wasn't explored here doesn't get explored. I just think there's a lot of things that are so open, and I'm like, I don't think we're done with Swarm and Azure. I don't think we're done with the Division. I don't think we're done with Joe Martin's Doctor. I think there's so many things that surely are going to crop up.
It feels like it would not make sense if it didn't, right? Because it's like if you were to tell me this would all get wrapped up in the next 3 specials, then I'd be like, oh great, like I have no problems with that. But there's a part of me that's like, how are they going to do that in like?
Yeah, because obviously we'll chat a little bit at the end about the upcoming New Year's Day special, which we now know a little bit more about. That seems to be completely separate and its own thing, and that like, in interviews that Chibnall's talking about it like it's a completely separate thing as well. So it doesn't seem like that's going to, that's not going to pick up much heavy lifting. And I don't think the Easter special sounds like it's going to do much either. So that just leaves everything on the centenary special, which is a lot to pack in with what we know is already going to be in there, dependent on what leaks you've been following on the side of cardboard boxes and things like that. I mean, we sort of know that now from this episode anyway. I mean, that in terms of wrapping up Flux, I think it was a really clever way of doing it. So obviously at the start we've got all of the cliffhangers get resolved pretty quickly, but in quite a satisfying way, I think. And we get this really fun idea of the Doctor being split across 3 different places.
That was so good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think that is a great resolution to the cliffhanger that I wouldn't have seen coming either. I think if you'd...
What was the cliffhanger from the episode before? Because I'm just trying to remember. I only watched the episode once.
I wasn't a big fan of the cliffhanger, because I mean we got like Sontarans coming in speaking to the Grand Serpent, then they came into the tunnels, and then we got Swarm just sort of reaching to the Doctor's face. A very classic Who cliffhanger that was like, "You're going to die, Doctor," and it's like,
well, it just felt like a repeat of the cliffhanger from episode 3, which is why I didn't really enjoy it. Yeah,
it didn't do a lot for me, but they resolved it well. And again, both of those like Swarm reaching for the Doctor's face cliffhangers are resolved by, like, in the short term, of the Doctor just ducking under his arm, which is I find hilarious. Just moving out of the way. I'm just gonna.
That's simply what I would do if I was in that situation.
that is what I do. But yeah, splitting the Doctor into 3 places, I think is.
That was the only way they could have done that, right? There were so many different selections of people to be able to be across them all at once. And there was like the scene where she, because I just watched this, like the scene where she's kind of like, oh, like, has anyone else noticed how many doors there are? And it's flashing between. I was like, oh my God, this is just so well done. This feels like I'm watching a movie. Like, it was just really exciting to watch, and the way she was kind of reacting to everything. And some of Jodie's best acting, I must say. Like, I love the 13th Doctor, but she was just so insanely good in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm sure we'll get onto more moments, because I've got a couple later on that I think are just probably my favourite moments of her era so far from her. And I think a lot of people know like the specific scenes that I'm talking about. But yeah, really, really clever way of resolving the cliffhanger. And I love Jodie's just confusion. Chibnall seems to be doing this meta thing where he's just making all of the characters as confused as we all are, which I find really, really fun.
I like that.
Yeah, everyone's just like, what is going on? And we're all like,
can you talk in a normal language, please? Can you just like,
yes.
Like, can you explain it in a way that someone will understand? And I'm like, yes. But that's
please.
Really cool. It's almost like better that way in a sense, because you're like, oh, that is probably how the Doctor would talk, and that's probably how we would react if we were there. And I really liked that when I was watching it for the second time. I really noticed that. Yeah,
definitely. And then we get the setup of the episode, which, as we said, is a surprise Sontaran story, basically.
So every time I think about it, it's just so funny, like the whole thing.
The whole, I mean, were you happy that they were brought back? Because I love them in War of the Sontarans, and I was, I'm not gonna lie, I was very happy when I saw that they were basically the big bads of the finale.
I just honestly didn't expect it, and I think the only thing that I find is that I just can't take them seriously enough to find them that much of a threat. So when the Doctor was like, oh my God, they're literally going to be like this is their biggest thing they've done yet. Like, they're going to kill all the Cybermen, all the Daleks. And I was like, yeah, but they're so stupid. And they're drunk on chocolate. Like, how am I meant to take them seriously? Like, I love them, but at the same time, I was like, I'm conflicted because I love them and I loved all of the scenes that we had with them, but also I wish maybe that some of that time was spent with Storm and Azure, who were such incredible villains, like my favourite villains for a really long time, and they were genuinely really scary. So I wish more of the focus was on that, but then I wouldn't trade anything for that chocolate scene because that was great. That was
we have to talk about it now, because I need to discuss the chocolate scene. It is, I've never laughed at Doctor Who
honestly
like that before. I was curled up, nearly in tears with laughter.
I was in a room with my friend Jared Groves and Kez, who I used to do.
Jared, friend of the
he
show.
said that because I said to him, "Oh, I'm going on Who Knew?" He was like, "Oh yeah, I've been on that." I haven't listened to his episode yet. Sorry, Jared. But I was with him and my friends Luke Splon and Kez, who I used to do Time Ladies with, and my housemate and my partner, and we were all just like, "Oh my god," like screaming at the TV. And I was just like, I'm just really glad they did that because that is so relatable to me. Like when I'm around chocolate, cake, whatever, you know.
It's just so good. The idea of them, because it's so stupid in its execution as well. And so many people have pointed out, like, why are they raiding corner shops when they own Earth? And it's like, why are they doing that? That's just, it is stupid.
I guess they're not even raiding them. It's just their corner shops, right?
Yeah, they're just taking them. Yeah. And now I want to see, I like the idea of Sontarans having corner shops now, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what was the funniest part about it, because I love it when Doctor Who does just like really like such human stuff, like a corner shop, you know, like it just
there is nothing more relatable than a Sontaran scranning on a Mars bar and
in a corner shop.
Shop.
One of those are for a night out, right? It's, you know, we've all been there.
Oh yeah, mate. Yeah, definitely. I think the natural progression is only Sontarans in kebab shops. Must happen. I need Sontarans and cheesy chips. And I need...
You're kind of giving me like Zygon Invasion vibes, where it's like the Sontarans could just come and cohabit the Earth, but just like run the chip shops, the kebab shops, the corner shops.
That's great. Zygon's cutting about, helping Unit.
Silurians in underneath the Earth.
Yeah, Silurians, they're doing all the under the ground stuff. Sontarans, they're serving your chicken sheesh. What more can you want? That's perfect. It's the perfect arrangement. Just a really, really funny moment. And I made the hot take on Twitter. I don't think this should be a hot take. I think Chibnall writes some really funny Doctor Who jokes, and I think some of his gags are my favourites.
Funny.
Yeah, he's got some great moments. Like everyone always memes the internet scene from Resolution, and I think it's really funny.
You know what?
I'm sorry. It just.
I think it's funny because, and I think the reason that people get upset about it is because it's genuinely, I think it's too close to home, because it's genuinely what we would all do. We'd all probably be freaking out, and like, I mean, I think the way the line is delivered is what people are memeing, right? Because it's just kind of like really awkward scene. But it is funny because it's just sort of like how often, if that genuinely happened, like in your house with your parents or whatever, you would genuinely be like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah, I just vibe with Chibnall's humour, guys. I got absolutely crucified
very
for that, by the
humor,
way.
isn't it?
Well, that's me all over. People who listen to the podcast know that I am all about puns and dad humour, because I'm a little old man. But
yes, am I.
But yeah, I got, like I said, I got crucified for that on Twitter.
It's just ridiculous. Getting crucified for anything on Twitter is ridiculous, but getting crucified for that is even more ridiculous.
Serves me right for sharing my opinions.
Well, there you go.
Boy, why
never
would I do that?
To do that?
No, never. Anyway, where next? You got anything you want to pick up? Because there's too many things
I've started writing notes, so I can. Hold on.
Nice. You lead the way for the next topic, because there's too much to pick up and I can't remember.
There's almost just too much that happened, right? And that's why I started writing notes and then wrote 4 and then stopped.
Yeah, I wrote loads, but I can't make any sense of them. They're just sort of like a half-tired, slightly hungover ramble.
I was going to say, one of my notes, all of my notes are quite clear, and then the last one is just, how did the random dude with the baseball jacket know where Kate was? But we can answer that later, because that was random. My first thing that I've written, though, is just like in the immediate beginning of the episode where Yaz is just like saving the day. I can't even remember what she does. She kind of like opens the door and all the lasers come through and like shoot the Sontarans.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about how, I mean, I still see people continually saying that like Yaz doesn't have any character and they've never developed her. And I'm sort of like, they're doing a very similar thing that they did with Carr, where they're literally turning her into the Doctor. Like, she can pilot the TARDIS. Just her characterization the last 2 episodes alone, I'm just like, I just find it so important, because I just think she's been incredible. In that scene where Dan was like, oh, she's been amazing. And I'm sort of reacting to what I've seen on Twitter as well, because a lot of people have said, you know, Yaz like hasn't reacted, and she, you know, she spent years away from the Doctor and you didn't even see them caring about it. And I was like, like in the whole scene, she refuses to tell the Doctor how many years she's been apart from her, because she doesn't want to upset her, and you can see it all over her face. When she goes through the tunnel and it says 21st century, she's like, please be true. Like, how is that her not caring? Like, she obviously cares. And I just think she's been so insanely good this series. And I think she's had a lot to do, despite what I'm seeing people say online.
Yeah.
I just think she's been amazing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Actually, I've gone on a bit of a journey with Yaz with Series 11. I did sort of share people's opinions that I think, just because of how packed the TARDIS team was, I did think she got sidelined a lot. And I think Mandip Gill is so good. Like, I just want more of her, and I want her to be able to shine a little bit more in the episodes. And then we got that a couple of times in Series 12. And I was like, okay, this is great. And now we're dropping a companion, basically, and you're giving her a little bit more time to shine. She's basically like the senior companion, which is really, really nice. And I know that some people have had an issue with it, but I do think she's been one of my favorite parts of the series. I think I love what would the Doctor do, and yeah, it is similar to what happened with Clara, and it's quite soon after what happened with Clara. I mean, well, I suppose, it was like 5-6 years ago now, that whole arc.
I was going to say, that was 2015, Josh. That was a long time ago.
I have no concept of the passage of time anymore. This is what lockdown has done to me.
I mean, you're right.
Yeah, in my eyes, Peter Capaldi was cutting about the TARDIS about 5 minutes ago. So but yeah, I think it's a natural thing to do with Yaz, so I don't have a problem with them doing it. Like, I
think it's also quite different because like, she very clearly also really loves the Doctor, and I think there is something going on there that I'm really annoyed they haven't explained, you know, what that is. I think it's different for her because she was already training to be a policewoman, or she already was a policewoman, sorry. So she already had those skills, and she's consistently used those skills throughout the series, which I found so interesting, because like, if you think about it, like, one of the best things that I find in Doctor Who is when companions, you know, use their skills of what their jobs and stuff are, like when Martha's being a nurse, or like when Yaz is being a police officer, and it actually comes through so much, and you can really see that path of her going, well, like, why isn't she capable and smart enough to just like pilot the TARDIS, or like save the day, or like travel the world for like 3 years trying to figure shit out? Like, that is her job and what she's trained for, and it's what she's good at. And I think the difference between that and Clara is that Clara became very reckless, I think, and kind of too much like the Doctor in like a bad way, where I don't think Yaz is as like, she's very level-headed, I think, like, because it's what her job has always been. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
no, completely agree. And I don't think, that it doesn't seem like they're going the same route as being like trying to be the Doctor is going to kill you. I think they're going to go down the route of being like the Doctor, and trying to be like the Doctor in any way you can is a good thing.
I hope so.
And I think that's a really nice message. It's a lovely message. And yeah, I just thought they did exactly what I wanted them to do with her. And I sort of expected them to go down this route, but it is exactly what I wanted. So I'm happy. Definitely happy with Yaz's series. And I'm glad that we've got Yaz for a few more episodes. And I'd love her to stay on for a bit longer. I genuinely would, because again, like Mandip is so fun, and like all of the behind the scenes stuff that we get, it's hilarious, and she's so nice and so kind.
She is genuinely one of the most amazing people. Like, I've met her twice, and one of them was at the premiere, one of Women Who Fell to Earth, and she was just like, so like she genuinely is just the type of person you can go up to, have a conversation with. She's very, very bubbly. She's really, really lovely. And the second time, like, I randomly saw her at the theatre. She was with Sacha Dhawan.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
It was December 2019, so it was just before Spyfall. And I obviously didn't know about Sacha Dhawan or anything. So like, she walked into the theatre with, this is a true story, like, I was in the queue for the theatre, and Raki Bakra, Arthur Darvill, Mandip Gill, oh my God, what's his name? Himesh Patel.
Oh my God.
And Mandip's boyfriend and Arthur Darvill's girlfriend all walked into the theatre, because I think Arthur Darvill's girlfriend was like doing the play, and it was like a really small intimate thing where like the audience was also almost on the stage, and it was like really interactive. So at one point it was like everyone kind of like stand in order of privilege. It was like all white men who were straight go to the back, all like women of colour who are gay go to the front, that type of thing, like in order. So like at the end, we were just like stood in close proximity to like Mandip the whole time, and I'd already met her. So at the end, I was like, I'm just gonna go say hi. And we literally talked to her and her boyfriend for like 30 minutes. And like Sacha Dhawan and everyone waiting for her outside, and I felt really bad afterwards. But she is genuinely the most welcoming, kind person ever. No, oh my God, I met her 3 times. Oh my God, I can't remember. But anyway, like she's always really cared about the show as well. I remember when they first did the first ever Comic-Con interview with them all, like at San Diego in 2018. And like, I remember Tosin just being almost looked like he just didn't care whether he was there or not. But then Mandip had like done her research, and she was talking about Doctor Who, she was talking about the history of Doctor Who. She's very like well versed in it. Because I remember the day that I met her at the theatre, I was like, oh yeah, like she asked me how the blog was going, and I was like, oh yeah, I interviewed Sylvester McCoy yesterday. She was like, oh wait, which one is that? Is that like the 8th one or the 7th one? And I was like, oh my God, like she has tried to learn her
really
shit.
trying. Yeah,
and she really cares about it. And like, I just wish that there was more. I wish people saw that more. I wish there was like more content to make people understand that about her, because she genuinely is such an incredible actress and person, and who really cares about Doctor Who and its fans. And I just feel like people just don't give her that enough like credit for that.
No, I think I've said a couple of times on the podcast, like, I'd love more behind the scenes content. I don't feel like we get anywhere near enough for having such a good and fun cast, the 2 casts that we've had, because obviously with Bradley and Tosin, and then and now we've got the wonderful John Bishop as well. I love Yaz as a character now. I like I said, I had issues at the start, but it wasn't like I don't like Yaz. It was more, I like Yaz. I just want more of Yaz, and I want Yaz to get her time to shine. And now she has, and I'm very happy.
So nice.
But I mentioned there, this is a terrible segue, John Bishop as Dan. He's been one of my favorite parts of this series, especially in the first couple of episodes. I thought he was brilliant. He's hilarious. And as someone who grew up not far from Liverpool in the Northwest, like just a little slice of home, just like the recognizable home in Doctor Who is really, really nice. What have been your thoughts on Dan, and how do you think he was handled in the Vanquishers?
Yeah, I honestly don't think Dan actually had that much to do in the Vanquishers, because you just asked that, and I was like, what did he do other than go get Carvanista out of the cage?
That's about it, really.
And do you know what? Like, I think it's hard, because like there are so many other characters, and I liked I wanted to see so much of all of them. But I guess now I'm thinking about it, maybe it would have been better if Dan had something final to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, just something. Because I'm like racking my brain for things that he did in that episode. And I think he called Yaz amazing. And he got Carvanista and was like, lol, I fetched my dog. And then I don't know what he did. Oh, he got in the TARDIS at the end. When they got in the TARDIS at the end and she invited him onto the TARDIS, I got really emotional. I was like, oh my God, he's going with them.
I'm very happy that he's here. And I think he was really, really great in the first couple of episodes. And like obviously John Bishop's been great throughout. The character was great. Progressively, I think that they've just, because of the amount of stuff that's in here, he has just sort of got less and less to do, which culminates in this where we don't really see a lot of him, which is a shame. But obviously the hope is now that he's a full-time companion, and the next 3 specials, it just doesn't feel like long enough. Like he's
I know.
He's basically been like 2 days for him. Like he could be like the shortest serving companion, because if these 3 specials happen within like a week, it basically barely even a fortnight for him. But I'm sure Big Finish will tackle that at some point in the future. That's Nick
I didn't even think about
that's
that.
your job. They'll fill the gaps. I'm sure they'll sign John Bishop up. I mean, Big Finish have just announced today that they're doing audios until 2030.
I just saw that.
So John Bishop, you have a job for life. I'm sure Nick would love you on board to do the Dan Lewis plastering adventures. I think he's a fun presence. It's a shame he sort of had to. He didn't really have to, but it's a shame that he did get sidelined a little bit in this episode, because there was such a hell of a lot to pack in. The Ravagers. Let's talk about Swarm and Azure.
God, they're great. They're just so good, aren't they?
They are good. They are good. I wanted more.
I wanted so much more. And I think that's, like I said earlier, like I was a bit disappointed by that. And Azure had a scene actually. And I think if she hadn't had this, I would have been really disappointed, because Swarm got the majority of stuff to say out of episodes they were both in. And it was almost like, why is she there if you're not going to let her speak or be a villain? So when she had that scene with Jodie in this episode, I was absolutely hooked. I was like, this is just such an incredible like moment. And also I just love female villains, and I love when they're like super scary and just like completely you know, like, I mean, I just love like women being represented in all places. Like, women can be villains too. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just nice to see. And I know we've had loads of great, you know, women who are villains in Doctor Who, but it would have been a shame if she didn't get a moment, because Swarm was doing all the big talks and, you know, big man stuff.
No, completely agree.
Yeah, I wanted more of them. I was really sad when they just like ascended away. Like, I kind of wanted them to, I don't know what I wanted them to do. I just, like I said earlier, wish that they were maybe had more time and the Sontarans had less time. If I could change it, maybe like that's what I would do.
I think it's a fair comment. I think for me, I sort of have the same comment, but I think mine would be more geared towards the Grand Serpent, who I liked.
Oh God,
I forgot about him. I like the Grand Serpent, and I thought he's a good character, and I think it's almost a shame that like he didn't come in earlier in Jodie's run, because I think like if you'd have introduced him in like as like a little side character in series 11 or something like that, and then it progresses further, that would have been really fun.
Because the unit episode where he like infiltrated all of that was really incredible. What was even his resolution in this episode? Didn't Vinder like shoo him away into like a prison or something? But that
basically locked him on an asteroid. They put him. They like Monsters Inc. him through that door, and then they hid
him out that door like into the asteroid.
Door shredder, and then he's like stuck in a kid's bedroom. I know that is he's stuck on an asteroid. He's just chilling in space, basically.
I don't know how I feel about that, because I remember thinking when I was just watching it, there was a lot going on, and that kind of feels like there was a couple of moments actually, that and the scene where Belle and Vinder finally are reunited, that felt very like not good enough resolutions for how much they'd built up. It wasn't like enough of a payoff for me. And what I was trying to say to my friends after the episode was, you know, I felt like there was a lot of stuff that we were waiting to happen, and then it happened and it was like, oh, like Belle and Vinder, I wish that they kind of found each other or something, some big moment happened or one of them died or anything, but it was just like, oh, well, the Doctor came and got Vinder and now they're together on the TARDIS. Or even when he calls the TARDIS via the little communicator thing, and he says, oh, it's Vinder, and then she's like, oh, Vinder, he's alive. And it's like, how many Vinders are there in the universe? Like, that could have been any other Vinder, and you just know it's your Vinder. Do you know what I mean? Like, things where, I don't know, I was also saying, after all of the random massive like things that Chibnall has done in his era, like Fugitive Doctor and unfortunately bringing Captain Jack back, which was great at the time, and all of that stuff, like bring Kate Stewart back, I was waiting for something massive to happen in this final episode because he'd done such massive stuff, and then there was no twist that I felt paid it off for me, and I was like, is it my own expectations that were too much? Because I was waiting for Belle and Vinder to have like some massive twist or like someone really big to die, like even if just someone, I know Jericho died, but, and I do care about that, but do you know what I mean? Maybe like a bigger sacrifice or some sort of twist.
I was expecting it. I was. I think again. I don't think Twitter helps. I think we all got really carried away with Belle and Vinder is the Doctor's mum and dad. That's the worst.
That ruined it for me because I was convinced, and all the whole time I was like, do you know what? I won't mind if they're just some randomers from in the universe, because it's really nice that they're showing the effect of the flux around the whole universe. But then when it happened and it wasn't anything, I was like, oh, I'd kind of had got my hopes up for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm again in the camp with Belle and Vinder and Carvanista, because obviously they're all together at the end of the episode. I just don't think we're done with them. I
hope not.
Surely they're coming back, but then I keep saying this about everything, and I'm like, in the centenary special at the minute, I'm expecting the Master, I'm expecting Swarm and Azure, I'm expecting Carvanista and Belle and Vinder, and then we know, and I'm expecting old companions to come back with like obviously Graham and maybe Ryan, and then I'm expecting maybe Jack Robertson to pop back up again. I'm like, oh, everybody is here. And I'm probably Unit. I think we know Unit are in the centenary special, so I'm expecting Kate Stewart to come back. It's just too much.
It's like, it kind of just feels like it wasn't final enough. But then I'm like, if they never pay this off, then I'm going to be upset.
I am because, a bit
you know, the Carvanista bit at the end with Belle and Vindo, I was like, that is fully setting up for a spin-off that we know is not going to happen. But oh my God, that would be so good.
Yeah, like a little family dynamic, traveling through space. That would be so fun. The way that
Claire looked at the TARDIS at the end was really like, why did they linger on her face for that long? Because she like had this look on her face that just kind of made me feel like there was more, and I was like, no, what's happening? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Not
it was
more.
Really...
No, we can't have more people. We can't have more people coming back.
Do you know what I reckon? With one more episode, we could have maybe like, what I reckon should have happened was like Joe Martin or Kate Stewart should have been in the finale, because it feels weird not having anything big like that happen in the final episode. Like a big reveal or twist, and then just maybe like another episode in the series to kind of maybe get rid of some characters, like finish their stories. But then I know that they wanted to bring everyone back for the final thing, which is great, and I loved it. It was like Journey's End where everyone's on the TARDIS kind of piloting it and stuff. It also was like, but Dan didn't get to do anything, Belle didn't do that much from what I can remember, bits and bobs here and there, like maybe finish some of the characters in the episode before the last one, and then but I think they ran out.
I think again, I feel like I have to mention it at some point in the podcast, so I'll mention it now. I did touch on this a bit. If you want to, shameless plug as well. I was on Mr. TARDIS's live stream the other day, Will Carlisle, and I chatted a bit about the Vanquishers, and I got absolutely rinsed in the live chat as well for my opinions again. So thanks for that, guys. But a lot of you were lovely. I touched there upon, I think this, in the fact that this was made during the pandemic, this entire series is an absolute triumph. And I think, you can sort of see that in an ideal world, I think Chibnall would have loved to have Doctor Who Flux be 8, 9, maybe 10 episodes, and it could be
Yeah.
like you can see where like a lot of people were saying like Survivors of the Flux. I think there's basically 3 episodes in there with
Yeah.
the Doctor and Division, and then you could have a whole Doctor Light episode with, you know, the Indiana Jones stuff with Yaz and Dan and Jericho.
Yeah.
There's
so
so
much
much
in
in
there.
here. Yeah. And I just, and then you could have this finale could have been 2 parts. I think it would be really, really fun to have it be 2 parts, and it would have been really good to get that, like you said, like some of the emotional moments that were really, really built up in the series felt a little bit anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
it's worse
it
when
is
they're
just,
emotional moments.
yeah, that's the thing. It's like the whole Bell and Vinder thing, the whole, I think Jericho's death is a little bit rushed, as the aftermath of Jericho's death as well.
Oh yeah, because Yaz just says like Jericho, and you can see the emotion on her face because Mandip plays it so well. But just one more lingering second with like a teardrop or something just would have been.
Yeah.
You know,
And there's I can see moments in here that were cut. Like I can tell where things have been cut because of time constraints or financial constraints and things like that. And I don't really want to be watching Doctor Who and thinking about budgets and like what could have been. So there's a little bit of a shame there. I enjoyed it on a whole, but another bit that I talked about on the live stream was Carvanista and Dan. I felt like Dan releases Carvanista after Carvanista's just found out his entire race is dead, and he quips and jokes, and then we cut straight to the TARDIS, and Dan knows about it, and Carvanista's really sad, and I'm like, there is a perfect gap there for a moment where we get that little closure on Dan and Carvanista's relationship, where they chat to each other and Carvanista sort of opens up, and that would have been so great.
Been so nice. And it's like
just not enough time.
Yeah, like I hate criticizing it because I genuinely loved it so much, and I love this era of Doctor Who so much. So like any criticism from me comes from just like a really good heart of like I really, really love it, and I don't like to be negative about it. But it does feel like there could have been stuff that was just expanded on, just a little bit more. But then, to be honest, it's a good thing that we finished this and we're like we want more, rather than like that was so bad that we don't want it. Do you know what I mean? It's nice to watch Doctor Who and be excited that it was great and you wish there was more of it. Obviously, when you don't, I think I was thinking about this the other day, like when it doesn't pay off, I think it's quite hard, because I feel like a lot of us really rely on Doctor Who for like a lot of stuff, you know, like Doctor Who is there for us in a way. And so I can see why people get so angry about it, because if that's the only thing that's like keeping you going at the moment, or whether through the pandemic or whatever you're going through, like I can see why it not being good would really upset you. And I kind of like was having a bit of a bad day on Sunday when it aired, and then it didn't pay off for me, and I was in such a bad mood, and I was like, why am I letting Doctor Who affect my mood this much? Then I moved on because I knew I was being stupid, right? And then I rewatched it today and I was like, oh, I actually really enjoyed it, because there were so many good character moments and so much that I loved about it, that it almost didn't matter that the things that didn't pay off for me weren't there, because I was just kind of trying to enjoy it for what it was. So like you just said, you don't want to be watching it thinking about like budgets and what could have been and stuff. And sometimes it's like hard when you do think that, because like you said, we're talking about it now and I'm like, oh, I just want more of it. Like I really want that Dan and Carvanista moment. Like I want Yaz to be reacting more to Jericho. I want more of Swarm and Azure, like just such great villains. But I think it's almost a good thing, isn't it? We want more of it, which is always nice.
And if you give me the option of we can give you like a 9-episode series of cookie cutter Doctor Who, absolute sticking to the formula. Here's your historical, and here's your everything, and we just get exactly what we usually expect from Doctor Who, and it falls a bit short. Then I'd be quite aggrieved of like, I mean, you haven't tried to do something new. I love the fact that this is the most different series of Doctor Who that we've had for decades. Like this is the one that's broken the formula that was set in 2005. It's taken them like 15 years, and I would much rather see them go a bit balls to the wall and try some mad stuff, and some things fall a little bit short, than see the exact same thing that we've seen for 15 years, because I do think there was a bit of a shake-up needed, and I think the serialized approach really worked. I think
it works so well. I honestly
good,
didn't realize, like, we all go on about how unique Doctor Who is because it's like Monster of the Week, Adventure of the Week every time, but that is not how any other show is, and that's not how people watch TV. Like, people watch one big story in a binge watch, you know, like my mum will binge watch it. She's not gonna wait every episode every week. Like, even my mum, like, she doesn't watch episodes, she binge watches stuff. So, you know, making Doctor Who for that audience, I think, is the future of it, to be honest. I would be surprised if Russell tried to veer away from that, because I think it is how TV is, you know, successful, and it makes you care about it, you know, like, just want to come back every week.
I think there's a midpoint. I think there is a point where you can sort of combine the two, because this is very much like a full self-contained one story. And I think, obviously, we saw in Russell's early series that, you know, he loves a story arc and he loves like threading things through. And I think if he gets the chance to ramp things like that up and do like weekly cliffhangers, I think he'd love that. But then sort of slot in, you know, the kind of things that fans love, like your odd Base Under Siege story or things like that. I think, I mean, if anyone's going to find the balance and nail it, I think Russell is a great pick, because he knows how to make TV, as does Chibnall. But yeah, I think this is a really, really good approach for Doctor Who. And again, I just want to just reiterate the point: the fact that they made this during a pandemic, is absolutely incredible. And I just think that the production team and the cast deserve so much props for what they've done and what they've managed to pull off. You know, even if you're slightly disappointed by a few elements or things like that, I think even if you didn't like it, I think you sort of have to appreciate the fact that they've done this in the most difficult time to ever make a TV show.
And they've made it really, really watchable and really, really good and like enjoyable. And it really, and Doctor Who, you know, like, I think anyone who makes Doctor Who should be given praise anyway, because it's a really, really difficult show to make. And it is like, they have no budget to make what they make. Like, it's just insane how hard the people who work on that show. And I don't think anyone gives them enough credit, like, especially, you know, doing it throughout a pandemic. I wasn't expecting Doctor Who until at least like the end of next year or the year after that, truly. And so the fact that we got any Doctor Who at all is insane, isn't it? Like, but also the way that it was so enjoyable is even more incredible, because I think to do something like that, to completely redo the format of Doctor Who during a pandemic, have all these characters that are so lovable over the course of all the episodes, and like just the effects and everything, like, everything they did is just
the visual effects are the best I've seen in the show. I think it all holds up on rewatches. I think we'll probably look back on it in 10 years and it'll hold up, and it'll probably hold up in 20 years. I think it looks great. I just, and obviously two directors as well across the series. You've got Jamie Magnus Stone, who has consistently hit it out of the park with Doctor Who. He's, I think for me, he's in like that top tier Doctor Who director bracket now, and Azur Salim has rocked right up in there as well, because oh my god, unbelievably directed this series. I just think there's some amazing shots, and making it look so big budget, it's just,
it really reminded me of, have you seen June yet?
No, not yet. No.
There is so much of it that reminded me of that, just in terms of not even just plotline stuff, but like the visuals and how big it feels. It really reminded me of that movie, because I don't want to give spoilers for the movie, but just the way they build the world and the universe and stuff, like, and all the visual stuff, all the special effects. And there's a lot of really similar things in there that I was like, God, I can't believe, you know, June has just come out, but Chibnall's Who does always feel like up to date with current trends and stuff. And, you know, even talking about another universe existing and the fact that this universe isn't the only one, like, that's such a trendy thing to do, I guess, to have like multiple universes. You know, I think that's a really interesting thing that Chibnall has done there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I mean, we've touched on a lot so far, and there's still so much left to talk about. But I think what we'll do is we'll go to bloody. I think we've covered a lot of the main stuff. I think we'll go to bloody Twitter, and we'll chat to some of our lovely listeners, and then we'll cover the last few little tidbits, and then of course everybody knows what's coming. It's the quiz. I'm not going to say the name yet because I have to build it up. I have to build up the name for the song, for the theme tune. But we'll put you to the test. But I mean, firstly, David, take it away. It's bloody Twitter.
For God's sake! Bloody Twitter!
So, Beth, welcome to bloody Twitter. It's your first time here. The people who listen to this show are a bit bonkers, but we've got some quite straightforward questions this week, and like quite relaxed, which is nice.
Good.
Usually I get asked about weird things, guys. But
That's
first
what
one,
happens when you open yourself up to Twitter.
yeah, to these lot, yeah. I'm joking. I love you all. First one is from Matthew at Disciple of Brad. We're going to have to talk about it. My only thought right now is how sad I am that we lost Jericho. Otherwise, it was a brilliant episode where all of the characters seem to get fitting endings with plenty left open for the specials to revisit. Oh, Jericho, our sweet prince.
Someone had to die,
yeah.
though. And I love him so much.
Not him.
No, I know, but then I guess the thing is, that's probably the best person to kill off in a way, because it's the one we were almost attached to. It's the little old guy that we've all become obsessed with, and we all, really care about.
Yeah.
When older men characters in Doctor Who are done right, like everyone loves them. Like Wilf, Jericho gives those vibes. He has granddad vibes.
Yeah.
But I think that almost made it more impactful, because I feel like you couldn't have done the end of Flux without killing somebody off. And if it was anyone smaller, it wouldn't have been as like, if it was like the Victorian man in the tunnels, it wouldn't have been as impactful. And also you couldn't kill him off as history. I had to think about that as I was saying it. But with Jericho, it's kind of like the most fitting in a way, because like you said, he's quite an old guy. He's lived a load of life. The Doctor, the adventures he's had because of the Doctor and because of Flux have given him more life. So I kind of feel like it was really sad, but like the only death that maybe worked properly, because I mean, if you killed off Bellovinder, it would have been like really, really, really heartbreaking. And everyone else are just Carvinister's whole race dying. That's very sorry.
I think that's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was thinking I think the only other person that would have worked is Carvinister, but then I think you can't just kill off a whole race you can't kill off all of the Lupari. We've got to leave one. One little fella. And I love Carvinister, so I don't want him to die either. I didn't want anyone to die. I'm just sad that I watch a program where nice people die all the time. But yeah, Jericho, you had our hearts and you broke them, and we will miss you dearly. Our sweet prince.
I want him back.
I miss him so much. And now I'm just saying, I want him back now. Get him in the centenary as well. If everyone else is coming back, just bring him back. Just bring him back to me, please.
Do you know what though? Big Finish will find a way. They will find a way. So they'll get him from before 1967.
Yazdan and Vinder. Yazdan and Jericho rocking around the 1900s. That is, you've got like 18 volumes there, Nick. You can make a killing off that. But yeah, I agree with everything else that Matthew has said. I think I think they are going to explore more stuff in the specials, and we'll wait and see, and maybe back here in a year and I might be disappointed, but who knows. Hopefully not. The next one is the lovely gentleman who joined me last week to talk about Survivors of the Flux. It's the one and only Adam Martin.
He was great. That was a great podcast.
Adam's great. Adam's great. Adam's been on a couple of times now. And and he's stuck his oar in here. He's got a little message. He's got a question. It's quite nice. We haven't had many questions. It's mainly just people splurging opinions, which is fine as well. But what are both of your thoughts on the state of the universe now that Flux is done? Are vast parts of it still destroyed? Will the universe rebuild itself? Or do you think it might be one of those things that just doesn't get addressed, which is fair enough? Big love to you both, Adam. Thanks, Adam.
That's nice.
Yeah. It's been a big talking point on Twitter. What have they done to the universe? It's basically half dead, and I trawled through on my second rewatch to try and find some answers. I don't really think they're there. What do you think they're going to do with it? Do you think it's just going to be, it's back? Yeah.
I really hope that they address it in some way. Like, I'm hoping in the New Year special, like the Dalek that's at this storage unit might have fallen through from the Flux, and then they have like a conversation about how the Flux has destroyed half the universe, and that's why they're stuck in this weird time loop or something like that. That for me would be enough, I think. I'm concerned that they're not going to address it at all, just surely because like there's just no time. Like, I keep thinking there's no time for this stuff to be addressed, but then I think surely they're not that stupid as well. So hopefully it's addressed again.
I can't see Chibnall leaving it. He's too he seems to be too careful a writer.
Well, he set up the universe so well in so many different ways that you think surely he wouldn't do that. And also it's kind of hard, isn't it? Because the end of this series feels like such an open universe to explore, and yet yet it's the end almost. And I like, for me, I think, imagine if this happened last year or whatever, or Chibnall had another year, and the next series was going to be, all of the characters from Flux coming back and forth, or like different adventures with, Belle and Vinda and Carvanista, and exploring and fixing the universe while it's destroyed. Like, maybe that's what Belle and Vinda and Carvanista are going to go and do. And we just might never find that out. And there's even the thing of like, okay, well, there's a lot of stuff that Chibnall has done that would be great for the next showrunner to take on, like more universes existing, and the half of this universe being destroyed, and all of the different characters. But you just know that, like, what showrunner really wants to come on and take all of that baggage? They don't, he might not touch it. So it's kind of like, I really feel like Russell's going to do a big reboot. So it's almost disappointing. So I'm like, I want it all to be explored so badly, but I'm just, I don't know.
I'm so sorry that my phone just went off. That's the first time. It's like 30 podcasts I've done, and I've never done that before. I'm a terrible host.
I didn't hear it. Don't worry.
Well, if no one can hear it now, I'm just gonna sound like I've just outed myself.
You didn't have to say it.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that. I completely agree. I think it's one of Chibnall's strengths in that, like you said, he's done so many things. He set up so many things during his 3 series, that it's like he's built like a proper sandbox for the next showrunner to play with, for Russell to play with. But he doesn't have to touch it if he doesn't want to, which is quite nice. Like the whole Timeless Child stuff, if Russell wants it, it's there, and you can go for it. Or if any future showrunner wants to go for it, they can bring it back, and you can basically have as much fun as you want storytelling wise with that. But you can also sideline it for like the reasons of like the Doctor doesn't want to explore that at the moment, and things like that, which is nice. And I think that the universe dying is a bit of a tough one to hand over to a showrunner. So like if there's like 5 planets left, I think it's something that you sort of have to resolve. But I can't see Chibnall forgetting to resolve something that big. I can't see the masses of people who are involved in this show, and no one stops and thinks, do we want to fix the universe, or are we gonna put it back? I mean, you never know. Maybe everyone's just forgot. Maybe Chibnall watched it on Sunday and went, oh no. It's like when you think you've left the tap on or something.
Oh my god, can you imagine? Like it, like you say that, because I was thinking maybe, how Steve Moffat had the cracks and decided to like get everyone to forget stuff. It could be really good for a new showrunner to have this kind of like thing, but then also, like you say, there's less to explore if half the universe is dead, and then it's like, how do they will Russell reference it? Because I think for me, if Chibnall doesn't mention it again, and then Russell reboots it and never mentions it, I'll just be like, for fuck's sake, like the universe was gone. What's happened? Like, are we in a different universe? Like, what? Someone explain it to me, because it would, like, I mean, Doctor Who is never rational or never makes any sense, but that definitely would annoy me.
Yeah. It just, I like, it's not like I'm not going to be singing from the rooftops for like Chibnall to be arrested, you know, for crimes against television, but it's just another one of those little plot holes that'll just sit at the back of my mind and it'll keep me awake at night, and I will
It will just simply kill you from the inside.
Yes, yeah, it will kill me slowly. And our final message, it's a short bloody Twitter today because we've got a lot to cover. It's from another big friend of the show, Dalecium, at Dalecium on Twitter.
I love them.
Yeah, the musical maestro.
Yeah.
And an interesting story, interesting question, not story. Did you get what you wanted from Flux?
That is an interesting question.
Yeah.
That's a big question.
It is.
Sorry, I just decided to go first then.
Go for it.
When it first aired and it ended, I don't think I did. Because like I was saying earlier, I just wanted a bigger payoff. I wanted a bit more division, or a bit more Swarm and Azure, or like just something that made it bigger for me than, say, like Kate Stewart coming back, or Joe Martin being in episode 3, or like, you know, some sort of big finale twist. And there wasn't a twist. Like, I just expected like a really big reveal or something. And to be honest, maybe that's Chibnall's fault for giving us such good random surprises. Yeah. Or maybe it's my fault for having expectations. But it reminded me a little bit, and I don't like to reference this episode often, but Ranskor of Kolos, where I felt like there was no payoff and nothing really happened. And I don't think nothing happened in this. I really, really like this finale. I just wish there was one thing, like if they just brought Joe Martin back for one scene, or they just had, you know, another flashback with the division, or anything like that. Because I kind of liked the Doctor choosing to not know her past. But why set all of that up to just be like, oh no, we're just not going to know about it? Like, maybe just tell us a little bit that maybe the Doctor doesn't need to know. Like, tell us in some other way, maybe the Doctor doesn't need to know it herself.
Yeah,
or
that'd be interesting. Yeah,
and like then she chooses to not know, or maybe another big reveal, or just some sort of twist. Like I said before, more time with Swarm and Azure rather than it being a Sontaran thing. But then when I watched it again, I kind of felt like I had been too harsh on it on my first viewing, because I was waiting for something to happen. But I guess when you do watch something else again and you're not waiting for that to happen, you can just enjoy it for what it is. Yeah. And so on the second time round, I really, really enjoyed it. But I just think it just needed a payoff somewhere. And I don't quite know what that was, but I just wanted a little bit more. But maybe that's just a consequence of there not being a lot of time and stuff.
Yeah, like I think I feel exactly the same on a whole, really. I think, I felt a little bit, I enjoyed it while I was watching it. And then as soon as it finished, I was like, oh, okay. That was that then. That's fine. Okay. I can live with that. Then on a rewatch, I did like it. I liked it more, I think, on a rewatch, even though I think some of the, Will made this point on the live stream as well. I think some of the flaws in it stood out a little bit more, and a few little plot holes, like the whole universe thing, stood out a little bit more to me on a rewatch. But the stuff that I liked a lot more on a rewatch as well. So completely agree. Well, actually, Dalecium asked another question, which was, what do you want to happen?
New question. How greedy, Dalecium.
Yeah, so greedy. He said, what do you want to happen going forward into Jodie's final stories? And I think I've answered it, and I want more. I want everyone get back here now and resolve these things. I just think there's so many things that are left open. I think I'm now bound to be slightly disappointed in a way by whatever happens, because I think there's going to be not on a whole, just I think there's going to be one little plot thread out of all of these tiny things that have sort of been left a bit open or hanging, that by the time we get to the centenary special, and that's done, I think I just think if he manages to cover everything, bravo, you are incredible. Mr. Chibnall, but if I can't see them being able to cover everything that I want resolved. But yeah, I mean, that's down to my not that high standards, to be honest. I love all Doctor Who. I tweeted this the other day. My bar for Doctor Who is really low.
Oh God, me too. Me too.
It's fun, I'm in. So I think that's why I've really liked this series, and some other people haven't. Maybe.
No, to be honest, like genuinely, this series has been phenomenal, and I think that people are far too harsh on Doctor Who, because like I said before, a lot of people like really rely on Doctor Who, so when it's not good, it can be really like hard for them. But then sometimes I look on Twitter and I'm just like, the things that the people are like talking about and being really negative about, like they just don't really matter. Like it's like, I know how serious Doctor Who can be for all of us, but also it shouldn't be that serious that, you know, I think even if there are things I don't like, I still just enjoy it so much because it's Doctor Who. And like you say, it's really fun. And, you know, even though there's been like small plot holes and like a lot of complicated things in this series, there's so much to love that for me, that doesn't really matter. So I think going forward, like you say, I kind of want, it just feels like everything was left open, and I really want, and I think we will get this actually because of the Master turning. That scene, by the way, gave me chills when I rewatched it, where the Doctor's like embodiment of time, whatever it was, when she said like your time is coming to an end. Jodie performed the shit out of that. I was like, wow, you're so great when you're like creepy and scary. And it gave me chills because I got like flashbacks from watching like the end of not the end of time, like Planet of the Ood and things like that, where you see them at the end being like, you're coming to an end. And I just got like super emotional because I was like, wow, we're on the way out from this now. And this era has meant so much for me, and having a female Doctor has meant so much to me that I started to think about it. And I was like, God, like this has all been left really, really open. I want us to have a resolution to all of this. I also want way more of the 13th Doctor and Yaz. Like that also actually, if I could pick anything, would be for Yaz to finally come out as queer and for them to explore that relationship, because it's bordering on queer baiting. And I think I just don't know, because I honestly can't see how they're going to fit everything that I want in 3 episodes.
No, I agree with you on the Doctor and Yaz. Okay, I revealed myself a couple of episodes ago. I am now fully on board the Thasman train. I wasn't really that fussed either way. I was like, if they do it, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine. I was sort of teetering either way. And then I don't know, something about Flux. I'm like, make it happen.
The way they act around each other,
people, please. I think something's got to happen now. If you're going to do it, you can't just leave, because like you said, you have the issue of it coming across as queer baiting, and I think you've got to do it now. You've got to pull the trigger. I think
it's been so long, and they've dropped hints about it in series 11 when Yaz's mum asked her if they were dating. Like that's how long it's been.
I quite like the ending. I quite like the final scene, and I think they could have done a kiss there.
I thought they were gonna. I was just sat there like,
I thought they were gonna. I was like, this, oh my God, they're gonna do this, and I was like, this is gonna be, because like I think there's a lot of pressure, because I think obviously I think they should do it, but I can like, it would be like national news. This is going to be like on the newspapers, in front of every newspaper and things like that.
It would break.
It would break the internet when it happens. I think it's going to happen on New Year's Day.
Can you imagine if Chibnall made the Doctor gay on New Year's Day? I mean, is it like
made the Doctor gay on New Year's Day?
I was about to say, I don't even know if it counts as gay, because she's just like, in my head, she's just like a Time Lord with no gender or sexuality. She's just fluid and everything. Do you know what I mean? So I'm
exactly.
Like, but you know what I mean?
That's how I
they
see
made a
the
woman
Doctor
kiss a woman
as
on
well.
New Year's Day in Doctor Who, and it's the main characters. Like, whoo.
Yeah. I think, well, if it's a time loop on New Year's Eve, what happens at midnight? Come
Oh
on,
my
guys.
God.
That's what I think's going to happen. There's my little theory. To the end of the time loop, New Year's Day finally comes.
Can you imagine? I think everyone would lose their minds.
And Thasmin stands collapse across the nation and across the world. That's my little prediction. That's what I want to see in Jodie's final stories. Is there anything else you want to see brought in these final stories? I just want him to go mad, really. I just go.
Me too.
batshit.
I want Jo Martin for the most part because I think
Ooh,
she has been wasted. Like, we just need more of her. If she doesn't return again before the end of Chibnall's era, I will be. I don't know what I'll be. I'll have a strong word with Chibnall in my head.
Yes, I'll be.
Or I'll post it on Twitter into the void. I'll just be like, why did you come back?
Yeah, I just want more of her. I think again that was one of my criticisms of Once Upon a Time. I was like, just do it, give her the whole thing, give her the whole speech. It's like her key moment. Give it to her.
Yeah. Although I thought it was really great seeing Jodie be that doctor, because I think that is something nobody imagined that her doctor would ever be like, and it was like, this is like dark Jodie's doctor. I wish we got more of that. I think that was really good.
There was a lovely little behind the scenes clip where she's talking about how she like studied Jo Martin's performance and copied little traits that she did, like how she walks and how she talks, and tried to make it not like the 13th Doctor, which is really great.
Wow.
I just think you just make the split a bit more even. Like Jo Martin's in it for like 2 seconds. Like, give her a little bit more at least.
No, you are right. Like, just give Jo Martin her own show. Make her the next Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, while we're talking about Jodie's performance, I mean that was bloody Twitter. Thanks, guys. I'm sorry that I couldn't fit more in, but you're all great. You've been great this series. So Jodie was, in my opinion, phenomenal in this episode. I thought it was. I seem to be saying every week in Flux that it's one of my favourite Jodie performances.
Because she's getting better and better somehow.
Maybe I think she's just great in all of it. I think she's equally great in all of it. I think she was really good here, especially splitting herself across 3 Doctors and playing that manifestation of time for that little scene. Top draw.
With the Grand Serpent.
Yes. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. That's exactly what I was leading to. Thank you for the seamless.
Sorry, I jumped the gun a bit there.
No, don't jump. No, do it. It's fine. You know more about this podcasting than I do. Anyway, the Grand Serpent scene, the interrogation scene. I think it's my favourite 13th Doctor scene. Yeah, she is on point. She just runs the room, which is something that, again, like I've wanted to see more of with the 13th Doctor. I love seeing all of her best moments for me are when she's one-on-one with a villain and she's running the show, and I just love seeing that. I always want to see more of that.
Like, I almost wish it was her who was the reason that Swarm and Azure ascended or something. Like, so she could kind of be like, enough of you, like, I'm gonna defeat you. Do you know what I mean? Because it kind of happened around her. I would have been so good to see that. I mean, obviously she did do that a bit with the Grand Serpent, so it's fine, but I just want more. Want more.
But yeah, that interrogation scene, probably my favourite bit of the episode. I think it's just, actually, my second favourite bit, because chocolate and sometimes. Chocky. But yeah, she was on point there. I mean, I'm trying to think what else there is to cover other than.
I've been thinking there's literally so much that happened. Like, let me just see my notes quickly. So I had Jodie's performance, and then the random bit. Who was that random guy in the baseball jacket? How did he know where Kate was? And what did that mean?
Well,
am I being stupid?
No, I don't think you are. I think he was just there. Well, he's credited.
Did he know where Kate was?
He's credited as Scouser. That's his credit. He's just called Scouser.
Unit operative. If it was like unit operative or member of, what was it that she said she was the head of against the Sontarans?
The human resistance against Sontaran occupation.
Wow.
Oh, I nailed that, didn't I?
Wow.
Great.
That was like, it was almost like you just said the whole of you know, when you say like a really long Doctor Who episode title on Monster, like the other day we were playing a game, you know, that game we have to guess who the person is on your head. We do it with like really Doctor Who characters. And my friend had Max from
the
Long
Mighty
Game.
Dragafest of the Holy Had the Jurassic Max Surrender
Yeah. So
another one that I
like,
memorized when I was like 8.
Yeah. But yeah, even if they just said he was like an operative for the human resistance or whatever, like that would have made sense. But that's the one bit where I was like, there was literally nothing that helps me understand this. I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Why is he there? Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah. That's
my only other note.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm looking at some of my notes. I'll just speed run a few of these because this is already a very long pod, and we've gone through a lot in depth already. One of my notes just says "contact" in capital letters because I was
so
inspired by the contact scene. I mean, some side characters that we haven't really touched on much. Carvanista, great, bring him back with Bell and Vinder, please, love him. And he broke my heart as well. He was really sad in this episode. And
that was a really nice touch though, doing the bit about the thing in his head and him not being able to speak about it, because I think it was a really, really good metaphor for trauma. It was like, you know, like being able to be like, I have this trauma and I literally can't talk about it because it will hurt me. I really felt that, and I know maybe not a lot of people would watch that and think that, but I was like, that's a really good metaphor for that, and just explaining that. And also, you know, he very clearly like has had a painful time with the Doctor as well, like he's had a struggle, and I just thought that was really clever. And maybe Christian didn't even think about it in that way.
That's a really nice way of thinking about it, because if I'm honest, that was one of my nitpicks. I thought that was just a little bit too far. I was like, I just like the idea of him just not wanting to talk about it because it hurts, and it is a trauma. And I was just like, do you need that line? I was like, he's not, it didn't ruin the episode. I don't think Doctor Who is dead because he's got a little thing in his brain, and it does make sense with Division. Yeah, it does make sense with like the kind of thing Division would do, but I just think, but I like the way that you painted that there. I like the fact that it's a metaphor for trauma. I think that makes it work.
But it's interesting you said that, because I hadn't thought about it your way either, which is true. Like, actually, he should have just had been able to say, I don't want to talk about that. I should have just left it. Yeah. So there are both sides of it.
We changed each other's minds.
Maybe a bit. Yeah. But that's a good thing, isn't it? Like, about talking to other people about things like this, because that was my favorite theme. What was I saying? My favorite thing about doing Time Team was like being in a group of with a group of people. So I didn't even give it any context to that. I used to do a Doctor Who article in Doctor Who magazine called Time Team, and it was like a group of us, and we'd all watch Doctor Who, and then Ben Cook would compile it, and it would be an article in the magazine, kind of like Gogglebox but Doctor Who. And my favorite thing about that was like, you can just sit in a room with people and someone would say something that you'd never thought about before, completely change your mind about something, but in like a really nice way. You're not like, it's not like going on Twitter and saying your opinion and everybody arguing. You're having like a conversation that's really civilized, and you're like, oh, I just never ever saw that before. And like, it's just, I think that's what's really nice that you're doing this, by like getting people to go on the podcast, because you can have those really nice conversations. Just be like, oh my god, didn't even think about that. I just love that. It's one of my favorite things about in-person Doctor Who conversations.
And I've been loving it with this podcast. It's been great, because it's different to what the podcast normally is. You know, usually it's me sitting down and chatting to people, and I don't actually really express Doctor Who opinions that often on the podcast, which is a bit weird. I don't really talk actively about specifics in Doctor Who. So that's what, Fluxed. Who knew Fluxed? I'm gonna enjoy not having to say that and type it because it's a mouthful. But it's been a wild ride, and I've loved it.
It's a really good thing. You should be very proud.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Sorry, I made that really
No. I mean, I think we're nearly there. I think we've nearly covered most of it. Two other little things that I want to mention. Diane. I loved Diane. Oh my god,
yeah, that is literally what I was going to say.
And I love the fact that she had so much agency, and she found her way out of Passenger. And she's, again, a character that I really want to see again.
Right, so now I was thinking this as you were saying, like, what are the points? because first of all, the women in Flux have been insane. Like every woman in Flux has had so much agency. They've done so much. They've been so well-rounded. Can't fault any of them. But like Diane, and I've seen a lot of people on Twitter going on about how unfair it is that she turned Dan down for going on a date. And I was like, no, this is such a good scene, because it just shows that like, even after everything, first of all, she saved herself. She got in trouble because of Dan. She saved herself. Dan didn't save her. And like, it's not all about boy getting the girl. It's like, actually, no, she's traumatized by the situation. She doesn't need to go on a date with him now. Like, she doesn't really want to. It was just like a really realistic thing. Like, and I think it was a really nice way to portray kind of like the trauma of what she's been through. And it's not just a fairy tale ending every time. It's not always just like, oh, the woman and the man are just going to go off now. It's just not. It was really realistic. Yeah,
I also didn't really take it as Diane blaming Dan. That's not what I got from that final scene, and a lot of people did. Like, I know we had that moment where she was like, "You were late," and then he's sort of like, "It's this big dog man's fault," which was quite a funny scene. But I think that
dog.
Yeah, I think what I took it as is, you know, Diane's been through a traumatic experience, you know, and Dan is intrinsically linked to that traumatic experience. Whether she personally blames him or not, obviously it's down to her if she wants to. But I don't think she does. I think she just wants to distance herself. Yeah, I think she's just been through a really rough time. I also made the point on the live stream the other day. I've referenced it a few times, but it's not really explicitly mentioned how long Diane is in passenger 4, because I'm pretty sure they say that time works differently there. So under that context, and maybe they should have made this a bit clearer, I took it as, I think Diane's been in there for a lot longer than it. Maybe she has been in there for a few days, but it's felt like months or years. Which
I thought years. I thought she's been trapped in there for a while. That's kind of the vibe they give off, isn't it? Because she's been in there long enough to learn how to get out in a place where there are like multiple. Every time you, what's it called?
Yeah, like areas, landscapes is what she says.
Yeah. And she must have been there a while to be able to work that out. And it's really, because I was also thinking as well, like, she's just gone back to her job now, and Dan's trying to act like, oh, we'll go for that dinner now. And she's just like, no, like I'm literally traumatized and I'm not really in the mood for dinner. And like, maybe she literally is really struggling from going from being trapped inside this alien thing to go back to normal Earth life. Like, it's totally normal response. I really liked that they did that.
I mean, that's how I took it anyway. And I think, I mean, you could argue maybe it's a slight just issue with the episode that it's not made a little bit clearer, and maybe they could have. Again, it all comes down to time. I think if we'd have had 10 episodes and this was made in normal circumstances, we could be talking about this as like a nearly pitch perfect series of Doctor Who, because all of these emotional moments would have had time to breathe, and they would have had a little bit more explanation and thought behind them.
And then you don't know what's been cut as well. You don't know how many scenes they filmed that have been cut. And you're like, it's probably not that they didn't think about it. It's probably just because they couldn't fit it in. Like,
I think it's actually not. I think it's good that Chibnall has sort of said, okay, if I have to cut this down and I have to cram all of this into this, he sort of just has to trust the audience to run along with it. And I think that's quite nice. And he leaves things open. He's like, I can't make this abundantly clear, so I have to leave things open to interpretation. And I think that works. And I think it keeps a nice, fun discussion happening after the episode as well, which is one of the best things about Doctor Who.
He just wants everyone to fight on Twitter.
Yeah, that's basically what he wants, because Quiz Chibnall is evil, as we know. In terms of other things, other people, Joseph Williamson, that mad,
I loved him.
lad, what a great guy, and a lovely little send off for him as well. I thought he had one of my favorite exits, because as well, I think he had sort of served his purpose, and I'm glad that they didn't keep him around to distract from other people more than we already have done. when his stuff is sort of already done, they sort of
They
just
were like, just go, you can just go now.
Yeah, it's like, you can just go. You need
Yeah.
to be safe because you're a bit important part of history and you've done a cracking job, mate. And he's like, oh, cheers, guys. Thanks. You're all sound.
I wish Doctor Who was always like that. I wish they were like, no, leave.
Yeah, you go now. Just be safe. And yeah, no, I think he's one of my highlights of the series. What a fab little weird character to just have in.
I think it's so interesting because I remember after the first episode, my friend who is Liverpudlian was like, oh yeah, these Liverpool tunnels, like that's the thing, and no one knows why they were built, and that's who that man is. And I was like,
yeah,
didn't know, went over my head until obviously they explained it a little bit more in the final episode. But if you don't know anything about that, you're just like, who's this random guy? But this was a historical figure who made like a bunch of tunnels that nobody understood what they were for, and then Doctor Who filled it in. I love it when Doctor Who does that. That's Doctor Who my favorite Doctor Who is when they fill in historical gaps, like Agatha Christie in Unicorn and the Wasp when she disappeared, like things like that. I loved it. So I was just like, that's just so great. And the actor who played him, also the fact that he spoke so of his era.
Yeah,
because my boyfriend says this all the time, where he's like, isn't it weird how in the Russell T Davies era you have all these historical episodes but nobody actually speaks like how they would speak in that time, whereas in Chibnall's era historical characters really speak like they would at that time. And I loved his use of language and the way they wrote him. I just thought that was really believable. Because
I like both approaches. I do quite like, I think there's a lot of comedy to be had in like the bit in Fires of Pompeii, you know, where you've got people in ancient Rome who are Cockney market sellers, because it's sort of, especially to kids learning about history through Doctor Who, it gives them a modern equivalent to sort of compare it to. And like he draws like sort of comparisons between modern times and old times to link it together, which is nice. But then Chibnall gives us a more pure version of this is what people were like, which is, I think both approaches are really, really fun.
They both work really well. Like I love them. It's just something I have recently noticed that I was like, oh, it's really interesting, the difference.
I'm gonna miss Joseph Williamson. I just wanted them to leave it open so that he can just pop up in any episode ever. And he just
come through any tunnel. He'll just come back.
He just walks in. I think people should just edit classic Who episodes and Williamson just walks in at random moments. Davros is giving a big speech and Williamson just totters in and he's like, what's going on?
Like the Clara echoes in Name of the Doctor, just going to come in random episodes.
Make Williamson the most important man in the history of Doctor Who is my wish. I mean, that's basically it. I mean, we've got the final scene, which is, I think, a pivotal moment in Doctor Who, and I might have been alone in the fact that I was stood there as Jodie was holding the watch, and I was like, drop it, leave it, don't do it yet, don't do it. And I don't know why I was like that. I just felt myself like urging her to be like, just be you, don't you need this. And I was just so satisfied with the ending with the watch. I know that some people have said like they wanted more answers or they wanted more of the division stuff, and I just loved it. I don't know why. I think it was a really nice, like, just the Doctor alone in the TARDIS with this really impossible choice to make of do I discover all of my other lives, or do I leave it, or do I destroy it? And it was, I just think it was expertly handled. I think it was played perfectly.
It's like I wanted more of the division stuff, but I also didn't want her to open the watch. Like I maybe wanted some more little bits here and there explained from Swarm or like maybe even just like a little bit more backstory of like, even if they just explain the Joe Martin Covenanter other companion, like that little bit, that probably, but I didn't want her to open it. I didn't want her to see other lives. I didn't want her to kind of like change who she felt she was, because that's, you know, accepting who you are, you know, that's basically what she was doing. And I really, really did like, I liked that. But there was a part of me that felt kind of like, why would they build up so much backstory? Because it's not even like they've built up a short backstory. They've built this up over 2 seasons and quite a lot of episodes to then just say, oh no, you're not going to find out anything. But then I think they're going to go back to it. in the special, so I'm fine.
Do you think I'm now leaning towards?
No, but the Master's coming back. I just think that's obvious that they're going to go back to it, because he, you know, he was just lost in the Timeless Children and revealed all of that stuff to her. So I think it's going to be.
I think I'm now at a point where if they decide to go for it, go for it. And I think have your fun with it and go mad in the centenary special. I also think if you just leave it there, I think I'm happy. I think
it works both ways, doesn't it? Yeah,
I think it does, and I know people are definitely going to disagree with me, and I think that's fine. I just think
people would disagree with you, whatever you say.
They would, yeah. I think now in retrospect, I think the idea of building this all up in a way to make I think it just has basically been an agent to make the 13th Doctor a really amazing, well-rounded character that has these deep flaws and deep issues with their history. And I think resolving it in that finale sort of just, I think it sets up a really nice, like we get two standalone fun 13th Doctor stories like we had back in like series 13, series 11 and series 12, where the Doctor can sort of just be free of it.
Yes, you're so right.
It's rather than get to Jodie's final scene and get that closure and then we get no more of her, they've done it here, get the closure, and then she's free and we've got 3 more episodes to play with. And I really like that. I like the idea of this being the closure of it, and it's there if someone wants to explore it in the future. Like it's a toy box that is tucked away in the corner, like the Morbius Doctors, like Chibnall did with the Morbius Doctors. And if someone wants to come along in 30 years' time and play with the Watch is there to be played with. And I think that's really fun and really exciting.
You know what? I hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah,
you've changed my mind again, Josh. Because
you made me feel
happier.
I think that's the main thing. Is I think so many people's biggest issue with the Timeless Children, other than women, which is just a stupid argument, is I think a lot of people just worry about the mystery of the Doctor and the enigma of the Doctor, and I think this would be the perfect way to leave it. I think Chibnall has taken away a bit of mystery in like revealing the whole Timeless Child stuff, and then he's put a load more back with this Watch and leaving it there. And
I think it's about like shaking Doctor Who up and making it insane and like shocking you and like being like the whole history that you didn't know, but at the end of the day the Doctor is still the Doctor and this is who they've always been. And do you know what I mean? Like I kind of like that about it, because it kind of solves both things. Like it's a nice new exciting thing for us to all like discuss and like wonder about and speculate about, but also she is choosing to be who she is, and like that is the same person that she's always been. It's just the Doctor that ran away with the TARDIS, and it doesn't need to be more than that for her, but we know that there's a history there if we want to care about it, which is nice. But then you never know. We never know what's going to happen in.
We don't. It's all. I also like the fact that it's a toy box for like fan creators to play with as well. I think that is really nice, and I genuinely think I like, knowing what I know about Chibnall and what he's like, I would imagine that that's probably popped into his head. I like the idea that he's probably thought people are going to have fun with this and people are going to make some really cool stuff trying to figure this out. So I'm just going to keep it a secret so people can have as much fun with it as they want, which I really like. I like that idea. Or maybe he's thinking that, but just at Nick Briggs, because this is just, maybe that's why Big Finish is here to 2030.
And he's being like, this is going to make Nick Briggs a lot of money in the future.
Nick Briggs, thank me later, is basically what this entire storyline has been. So that was our thoughts on Flux. Obviously it's been a mad 6 weeks, and one thing that has been introduced in Doctor Who, Who Knew Fluxed, is the wonderful new segment. I love it. It's Quiz Chibnall. So let's get into Quiz Chibnall. Yeah, you've got to give a clap, and we've got to dance because we've got. I mean, we don't have to dance. We've got the theme tune playing.
Do
Let's
little
spin. Yeah,
I wanted it to be.
Yeah. So you have the chance to become the final. I mean, Adam knocked it out of the park last week. He was unreal. Because I gave him something to do with dates, and that was a mistake.
Oh, no
he's insane. No, yeah. So you have the chance to take his crown. I'm going to say, look, if you get there's 10 answers. We'll try and go through this quick, but
I'm really tough. Nervous.
Yeah, it's tough, but there's 10 answers. I'd say if you get 8, because this is maybe even 7, because this is really hard. I will give you the crown.
This is not good because I've just come out of like a year of like a Doctor Who hiatus, so I've forgotten everything. So this
oh no,
this could be great. Well, also, this is like a taste of my own medicine because this is exactly what I do to people at the Quiz of Ramblon, and doesn't feel great, guys.
Well, the subtitle for this week's Quiz Chibnall is "The One Doctors."
Great.
So, what I would like you to do is there are, I think it is 10. Right, it's 10. Now, I've been caught out by TARDIS Wiki many times in this series. If there's another answer, I'll let you have it. I'm not going to check every episode because I can't do it anymore. Your question is, I want you to name the stories in which multiple versions of the same incarnation of the Doctor appear. So the ground rules are obviously not multi-Doctor stories because they're different incarnations, not like the 3 Doctors or Day of the Doctor. It has to be the Doctor. It can't be a meta-crisis. It can't be a duplicate. Nothing else. It has to be the Doctor. Or some version
You're
of.
telling me there's like 7.
There's 10.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, some of these are a little bit like, does that count? Because it's a little bit cheaty, but I've cut out meta-crisis and I've cut out duplicates, and is what's left.
Like my first answer would have been like Ganger 11th Doctor, but then I know that's technically a duplicate. No. The whole point of that story is that they're not a duplicate; they're still them. I just watched that, so
okay. I'll give you half a point but it's not technically an answer.
No.
I think once we get into it, I think it's basically like the same incarnation but at different times. And this one I would count. So if you want to get 1 point straight away, you just got to say the episode we've just been chatting about.
We'll go for the Vanquishers then.
1 point. How did you get that? That's incredible.
This is so hard. I'm trying to think of other, like all of Doctor Who is just suddenly left my brain, and also like trying to remember Classic Who was a nightmare for me because I've only watched like half of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to give you a few hints because of how hard this is. So if you want any hints, as I say, you've got 9 left to get.
New Who Doctors in my head, but it's like it's so hard. Okay. I don't think it happens to the 9th Doctor, does it? Or does it? No. Oh God. This is so much pressure. I will go through episode order. No. Oh, wait. Can we count like Rose when he's in it in like the pictures from a different time?
No.
No. Okay. Oh my God, this is really hard.
You are warm. I'll tell you that you're warm. I'll tell you when you're warm.
There, right? Okay. Oh God. This is when like everyone's going to come at me for being a terrible fan.
I think when you're in the I never thought there was
one, maybe. Yeah.
I think maybe the floodgates will open.
Suddenly can't remember anything though. I'm like going through every episode in my head because I've literally just watched like this series. Is that like a flash?
Multiple incarnations.
Okay,
So it's multiple versions of the same Doctor, and it can be at different times within that Doctor's incarnation. Maybe even like 10 minutes before or something, you know, and he just sees himself.
Yeah, but
something. Father's Day, correct. Yes.
Oh, I feel so stupid.
No. I feel like you just need a little nudge, and so close
as well. But it's like I just wouldn't think about that ever. Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think because I just don't think I'm going to get any of the classic Who ones.
I'll tell you how many classic Who's there are.
Okay.
There's 2 classic Who ones. The rest are all new Who.
It really feels like I'm just not going to get them because I don't remember classic Who at the best of times, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even the ones I have seen.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have remembered these, to be honest. I think they're tough.
Okay. How many other new ones are there? Jesus Christ.
So overall, you've got I know, sorry. There's 6 stories left. 6 stories.
Okay. Right. What am I thinking? Where am I going to go next? Let's go for. I don't think there's any other 9th Doctor ones. 10th Doctor. Can we count Smith and Jones? Because he comes at the beginning and gives Martha the tie, and then later in the episode. Or is it because it's all in the same time period that it doesn't count?
It all sort of happens in one episode.
Damn.
I don't
Okay.
know, maybe. I don't know. That's an interesting one. It's an interesting.
I'm going to think of everyone but the right one, aren't I?
Yeah. I'll give you a hint, just because I don't want you to be here for hours. I know that Doc, because I feel like when Dom did this, I was like, I feel like I didn't want people to spend so long on the wrong points. That shall I tell you what new Who Doctors they are? Because there's only 2 new Who Doctors that this now applies to across 6 episodes. It's 11 and 12.
Right, I knew you were going to say that because that sounds like a really Moffat thing to do. So do you mean like the Big Bang? The Big Bang?
Yeah. The Pandora opens the Big Bang, and it's linked to it's linked to another episode. Right.
Wedding of River Song? No. Happened that. Wow.
No.
That was basically Time of Angels.
Yes, correct. So we see the Doctor. I feel like I should explain these as we go in case people don't know. So obviously in Father's Day, you see the 9th Doctor, go back and see the 9th Doctor earlier in the story. And then in Time of Angels and the Pandoric and the Big Bang, the Doctor goes back to speak to Amy in the Angels bit. And we see the 2 incarnations. Oh, love that.
So clever. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. That happens a lot in Moffat's era, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, like I say, you've got 4 more. They're all 4 more new Who ones that are all in Moffat's era.
Okay. I want to set no. That doesn't. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of examples. Is there any more 11th Doctor ones?
1.
Okay. I think it. Is it technically the Impossible Astronaut? Because he's there, but he also. No, because he's only there once. He just knows it's actually River Song. Ignore me.
Also, and also it's the Tesselector, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, but then I was like, it's not going to count.
Yeah.
Okay. What else is happening in 11's era? I'm currently stuck on Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS, so I'm trying to think of recent episodes I've watched.
Right. Oh, are you?
Is it that
episode are you stuck on again? Stuck on what episode was it?
Is it Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS?
It's Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS.
I literally don't remember that story, and we are refusing as a household to watch it. So
I watch it. I rewatched it, and I mean, compared to the rest of Series 7B, which I'm not a fan of, it's not that bad.
I can't believe that was
basically
the
resolution to the episodes. So it basically yeah, it's the big red button thing. So,
I do vaguely remember it. I haven't watched it for a really long time. So.
Yeah, you should watch it. I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't despise it. I didn't hate it. It was okay.
Yeah, to be fair, we watched Cold War the other day, which I've always hated, and I didn't hate it this time around. So yeah, I'm ready, but we're in Christmas movie mode at the moment, so we might go back to it soon.
Oh, nice.
And the rest of them are 12th Doctor, yeah?
Yeah, you got 3 12th Doctors, and I'll tell you the other 2 Doctors. You've got a First Doctor episode.
Wait, is it? I've seen so much of the First Doctor's era as well. No, you're gonna have to tell me.
Do you want me to tell you that one?
Yeah, go on.
That one, the First Doctor one, is the Space Museum.
Fuck, I was gonna
no. Yeah, it's the cliffhanger at the end of the Space Museum. They walk in and they're in the pods, and then they fade away. And then
I was going to say that.
But we've arrived, which is one of my favourite cliffhangers. You've then got a third.
When I tried to watch Doctor Who from the very beginning, that's the episode I got up to and didn't continue with it. So good stuff.
Yeah,
I got in the middle of it. Okay, so
then you've got a Third Doctor one.
Oh shit. Is it like? Oh, I don't want to take a really wild stab in the dark.
Take a wild stab. Go for it.
I don't want to. I don't want to. Also, my laptop battery is low, but I think it'll be fine. I don't know. I wanted to say no, it's just gonna be wrong, so I don't want to say it.
Okay.
I don't know. Can you tell me?
It is. What were you going to say? Go on, say it. Just say an episode.
I literally don't even know why, because I don't think I've seen it. I was going to just say the Claws of Axos or something.
No. You are close. It's a similar era, but Day of the Daleks.
Oh, I love that story.
Yeah,
Day of the Daleks. Though, clearly. Cool, that's interesting though.
Yeah, they both appear in the TARDIS, and then you've got 3 12th Doctor episodes.
Fucking hell. I don't remember it happening in any of them. Oh, fuck. And it has to be the same incarnation, right?
Yeah. But then a few that you've mentioned have been slightly contentious ones, like Smith and Jones, and I'm not trusting TARDIS Wiki here. I'm not trusting TARDIS Wiki.
Okay.
I think you've done well so far, though. I think you've done really well, because this is hard.
You had to help me, to be fair. And it's only probably because I've just rewatched those stories as well. I'm going to struggle with the 12th Doctor ones, I think. Another version of him. I don't remember that happening. When does it happen? It's going to be an episode that I haven't watched forever, isn't it? Does it happen in Listen?
Not Listen. No, we get the Hartnell incarnation.
Oh, yeah, but that's not. For some reason, I thought there were 2 12th Doctors in that.
No.
I don't remember anything about Series 9.
There's one of these has a ridiculous amount of the same Doctor. Billions and billions and billions of the same Doctor over and over again. Heaven Sent, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, Heaven Sent counts, apparently.
Does that count? I would never have said that.
Apparently it does.
Oh, because he dies every time. Yeah.
Because it's a different version of the same incarnate. I take it up with TARDIS Wiki, guys.
Okay.
Take it up with TARDIS Wiki.
I was thinking that, but then I thought, no, surely not.
Well, I'll give you it. You've got it. You got the point.
I mean, okay. You helped with that one though.
And then you're very warm, and you're very close to another one there as well.
In Series 9?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell. I couldn't tell you a single thing about Sleep No More, so I wouldn't even know if it was in that.
No.
Fuck.
There's a very sneaky one. There's quite a one where it's like key to the story.
Oh, is it Under the Lake Before the Flood?
Yes.
Because he's like the ghosty.
The ghosty, and so that is one. And
I wouldn't have said that one either.
Then you've
Okay.
got one more. This is a very frustrating quiz for you. I do apologise.
No,
Again,
it's great. It's really
please
interesting.
direct any hatred towards TARDIS Wiki because I would love to. I hate
This
TARDIS
is good.
Wiki.
You should come and do a quiz with the Quiz of Razalon because these are
I
great.
want to. Yeah, I'd love
I'll
to.
ask Mikey. Honestly, you'll be great. What? So is it in series 10 or is it in like series 8 or 9? Sorry, that was not a
9.
helpful question.
Series 9.
Again in series 9.
Yeah, it does happen again in series 9.
Oh my
You were
god.
very warm with Heaven Sent.
Oh no.
It's a very sneaky one.
Well, it's either Face the Raven or Hellbent, but I can't remember really much about. Is it Hellbent?
It is Hellbent. It is.
Oh, because
So-
he's there in the diner and he's telling the story, right?
No.
Oh.
Well, it's because the Doctor goes back into the events of Face the Raven, and the
Oh, of
Doctor
course
is
he
stood in
does,
the
and the Doctor's
background,
there.
so they're both there at the same
That
time.
feels like something I still wouldn't like. Those examples that you've just given me are 3 that I would never have said. I would have thought that would have counted, but
Me neither.
Interesting.
I winged it, but I tell you what, I'm going to give it to you. You got 8 out of 10.
Yeah, but because of you helped
No.
me.
You did that. You did this. So I name the monarch, the queen of Quiz Chibnall.
Maybe feel like I
Congratulations.
really need to brush up on. I need to finish the rewatch now so I can brush up on
You
knowledge.
smashed it. You smashed it. And congratulations to everybody who took part in Quiz Chibnall this year. However much TARDIS Wiki wanted to sabotage it, you all did very well. And that brings us to the end of the podcast, and it brings us to the end of Who Knew Fluxed. Thank you all for listening through these mad 6 weeks and listening to mine and my guests struggling to get to grips with Flux. It's been very, very fun. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm sure you'll get more stuff like this in the future. But from next week, it's back to the standard pod, and oh God, have we got a nice little epilogue to Who Knew Flux, because I'm going to be joined by Pete Levy, the producer of Once Upon a Time, Survivors of the Flux, and the Vanquishers, who's going to be here to chat all about the behind the scenes on Doctor Who Flux and chat about, I mean, he posted a picture of him giving Jodie a big hug the other day, which is nice. So if you want to know what it feels like to hug Jodie Whittaker, then I'll ask him if you want. And you can ask questions if you want, tweet me. But yeah, thank you for joining me. And Beth, please take the time now to plug whatever you would like to plug, wherever people can find you, anything you want to promote to my little audience.
Yeah, what we're doing at the moment, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm sure you'll tag me at ohmystars with a 0 and a 4.
Yes.
I've got a little Etsy shop going at the moment. We're selling Doctor Who Christmas cards, designed by me and my friend Imogen. And we're also selling prints with like little Doctor Who poems and illustrations, and yeah, I think that's the only thing I'm doing. So at the moment,
I absolutely love them. Please check them out. And it's on my list of things to buy when I've got a little bit of money, because they're so nice. And Imogen's art, I've loved Imogen's art on Twitter for ages.
It's so beautiful, isn't it?
Amazing. And the poems as well are lovely. So well done on putting a lovely little product together. And obviously, in terms of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Please share, like, subscribe, share it around, because this has been fun, and I love more people to get involved. You can find us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast, and you can find me on Twitter at Josh Ryan Carr. And we're on Instagram, but I've not updated it for about 6 months because I'm dreadful at Who Knew DWPod. We're also on Patreon if you want to get involved, if you want to get early access to guest announcements, things like that, and support the podcast. You can sign up to the Patreon, and you can get a Who Knew t-shirt as well if you want. You can have a little look on the merch store. But for the final time for Who Knew Fluxed, thank you, Beth, for joining me. Thank you to all of my guests, and thank you to all of my listeners. It has been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been really nice. I can't believe the time, but like
Yeah.
it happens every time I get chatting with anyone on a Doctor Who podcast or anything, you just end up chatting for hours because it's
Hours. Yes. Yes. Well, I will let you go. I will let everybody at home go and enjoy their evenings and get fluxed. There you go. That's it. Big thank you to all of our patrons and a massive shout out to Alfie Innes and Cal King. Thanks for listening to Who Knew, a Doctor Who podcast. You can check us out wherever you get your podcasts and now on YouTube. Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you can, as it really helps us out. And a massive thanks to the Sononauts for lending their cover of the Doctor Who theme to be the theme for the podcast.